From the time you were a child, a script was written for you. Study hard, get good grades, get a stable job, earn a salary, be secure. No one called it control. No one called it limitation. They called it success. But here is the question almost nobody asks. If salary jobs create wealth, why are most salaried people not wealthy? And why do the richest people on earth rarely depend on salary? This episode is not about attacking workers. It is about exposing a design. Because there is a reason the system celebrates employment loudly, while ownership is learned quietly. Today we break down the contrast, employee versus asset owner. And once you see the structure, you will never look at a paycheck the same way again. Let us begin. An employee trades time for money. An asset owner owns something that produces money. That difference sounds small. It is not. Time is limited. Ownership scales. An employee wakes up, works 8 to 10 hours, and gets paid once a month. No work, no pay. An asset owner may work hard too, but their income is not tied directly to every hour they breathe. They own equity. Equity means ownership. Ownership means leverage. Leverage means scale. Scale means income without equal time input. Now here is where tension begins. If everyone focused on ownership instead of employment, what would happen? Who would run the factories? Who would process the paperwork? Who would operate the systems? The modern economy depends on millions of people trading time for wages. Salary is not accidental. It is structural. And the structure works best when most people believe it is the safest path. But safety is not the same as freedom. Let us talk about ceilings. Every salary has a cap. Even high-paying jobs have limits. There are only so many promotions. Only so many executive roles. Only so many seats at the top. Your income growth depends on someone approving it. An asset owner does not ask for a raise. They increase prices. They expand distribution. They acquire more assets. One depends on permission. The other depends on strategy. That is not motivational language. That is structural reality. Now consider this. If a company earns millions in profit, employees receive fixed compensation. The owners receive the upside. Employees carry operational pressure. Owners capture equity growth. This is not unfair. It is how capital works. But it is rarely explained clearly. We are taught how to apply for jobs. We are rarely taught how to acquire equity. Look at the wealthiest individuals globally. They are founders, investors, or major shareholders. They own companies. They own stock. They own property. They own intellectual property. Consider Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett built wealth by owning shares in businesses. His income is not tied to clocking in. It is tied to ownership percentage. Consider Elon Musk. Elon Musk accumulated wealth primarily through equity in companies he helped build. Ownership multiplied his exposure to growth. This is not about celebrity worship. It is about pattern recognition. Ownership compounds. Salary stabilizes. And here is where manipulation becomes subtle. Schools train you for employment. Curriculums focus on grades, compliance, deadlines, performance reviews. You are prepared to fit into structures. Rarely are you trained to build structures. Financial literacy often excludes equity strategy. You are taught to earn, not to own. That omission is powerful. Now let us talk about inflation. Inflation erodes purchasing power. If prices rise faster than your salary, you lose ground. Employees must negotiate raises. Owners adjust pricing or benefit from asset appreciation. Property values rise. Stocks reprice. Business revenue scales with market conditions. Inflation punishes fixed income more than scalable ownership. Over decades, that gap widens. Slowly, quietly. Compounding is not dramatic. It is patient. And patience creates asymmetry. Here is another uncomfortable truth. Salary feels predictable. Predictability reduces fear, but predictability can hide stagnation. You feel safe because money arrives monthly, but your income growth is linear. Ownership growth is not linear. It is exponential when structured well. One rental property becomes two, two become four. Equity increases with reinvestment. Dividends compound. A digital product sells repeatedly without additional hours. Leverage breaks the time-income link. Salary reinforces it. Now consider identity. Employees often define themselves by job title. Owners define themselves by assets controlled. That shift changes decision-making. An employee asks, how do I earn more? An owner asks, what can I own that earns? One seeks income, the other seeks control. And control shapes destiny. Let us address risk honestly. Many believe entrepreneurship is risky, but depending on a single employer is also risk. If layoffs happen, income stops. If industry shifts, skills become obsolete. Diversified ownership spreads exposure. The wealthy rarely rely on one income source. They layer assets, business equity, real estate, market investments, intellectual property, Multiple streams reduce vulnerability. Salary centralizes it. Now let us examine power. In every organization, employees generate value, but shareholders capture residual profit. If revenue increases significantly, shareholders benefit disproportionately. That is the reward of ownership. It is not immoral. It is structural mathematics. When you own equity, you participate in upside. When you earn salary, you receive agreed compensation. The upside is capped. And here is the quiet truth. The system does not need everyone to be wealthy. It needs functionality. It needs predictability. It needs labor participation. When most people prefer salary stability, economic machines run smoothly. When too many pursue ownership without preparation, volatility increases. So narratives emphasize security. Get a good job, stay stable, climb the ladder. But ladders have ceilings. Ownership builds new floors. This does not mean quit your job recklessly. It means understand the difference between income and equity, between cash flow and capital appreciation, between working in a system and owning part of it. The wealthy class does not rely primarily on earned income. They rely on capital income. Capital income scales differently. It compounds, it accelerates, it multiplies. Now imagine two people over 30 years. Person A saves from salary only. Person B saves and acquires appreciating assets. At year 1, difference is small. At year 10, difference grows. At year 20, compounding becomes visible. At year 30, gap becomes dramatic. Time amplifies structure. This is why early ownership matters. This is why financial literacy matters. This is why equity strategy matters. Because the real shift is not quitting employment. It is transitioning from pure employee to employee plus owner. You work, you earn, you invest, you acquire, you repeat. Over time, ownership income reduces dependency on salary. Dependency is the real risk, not employment. Dependency. And once you reduce dependency, your negotiating power changes. You can walk away, you can pivot, you can choose. Choice is financial power. Salary alone rarely creates that freedom. Ownership does. And this is why loving salary jobs unconditionally benefits the system more than it benefits the individual. Because when you never question structure, you never pursue leverage. When you never pursue leverage, you remain linear. When you remain linear, you remain predictable. Predictable labor sustains scalable capital. This is not conspiracy. It is economics. Employees power production. Owners capture expansion. Understanding that difference changes behavior. And once behavior changes, trajectory changes. But salary versus ownership is only one layer. There is another force quietly draining financial progress. It does not show up as income tax. It does not appear as a deduction on your payslip. Yet it affects millions daily. It increases expenses. It consumes time. It adds stress. It widens inequality without announcement. In the next episode, we expose it. The invisible tax poor people pay daily. Transport, food, time, stress. Once you see it, you will start measuring money differently.